All right, you bastards, strap yourselves in, because today we're going deep, deep into the messed up world of the British royal family. We've got all the goods, your Wikipedia, the trashy tabloids, even some of those stuffy-ass historical records. We're going to rip the lid right off this royal charade.
That's right. We're done with that fairy tale bullshit, all right? We're talking scandals, power struggles, family drama that make the Kardashians look like fucking amateurs.
So let's cut the crap and get down to it. First things first, who the hell is even in this royal family? It's like trying to figure out who's who in some goddamn medieval circus.
It's a clusterfuck, honestly. There's no real definition, just a bunch of lists and pronouncements that contradict each other. You got the Lord Chamberlain, that's the guy running the royal household. He's got his list. Then there's the official website, they got a whole other list. And God knows who else is keeping score.
Sounds like somebody needs to get their shit together.
Tell me about it. It's like a royal version of Survivor. Alliances are always shifting, people getting voted off the island, and everybody's stabbing everybody else in the back. Like, take Sarah, Duchess of York. Divorced from Prince Andrew, but still on some of the official lists.
Seriously.
Yeah, and then you got Harry and Meghan off in California doing their own thing, but technically still royals. It's a bloody mess.
So we got this giant, undefined family with a serious identity crisis. Let's talk about those fucking titles. Prince this, Duchess.
Yeah.
That it's enough to make your head spin. What the fuck is up with that?
Okay, the basic rules are simple, I guess. Sons and grandsons of the monarch, they get the prince title and the whole HRH, His Royal Highness thing automatically.
Okay.
But then it gets complicated, right? Wives, they usually take their husband's titles, which leads to some weird shit like Princess Michael of Kent. What the fuck does that even mean?
It's like they're making this up as they go along.
And then you've got the Mountbatten-Windsor thing. See, back in the day, royals didn't really have last names. They were just the Windsors, because that was the name of the royal house. But then Elizabeth married Philip, who was a Mountbatten, and they decided to hyphenate the name for, like, their descendants. But it's all a gray area. It changes depending on who the hell you're talking about.
Confusing as hell. Okay, but let's get real. What do these royals even do? Besides, wearing fancy clothes and waving at the peasants?
They're basically the monarchy's PR team, right? Their job is to travel around, attend events, shake hands, and just, like, generally make the monarchy look good. They're supposed to be politically neutral, but let's be real. They wield a lot of soft power and influence.
So it sounds pretty fucking boring, if you ask me.
Don't be fooled, all right? It's a high-stakes game. They're cultural icons, major players in the whole British brand. They bring in billions in tourism revenue every year. We're talking thousands of engagements, tens of thousands of guests entertained at their palaces, and literally hundreds of thousands of letters answered every year.
Busy little bees.
It's a full-time gig.
All right, but let's be real. The reason we're all so fascinated by these royals is the drama. These guys are messy as hell.
Oh, absolutely. Back in the day, they were all about projecting this image of the perfect, happy family. But then the 90s hit and everything went to shit. Divorces, scandals, toe-sucking photos, you name it. They did it.
Yeah, the tabloids had a fucking field day. Diana's death must have been a nightmare for them, though.
It was a turning point, for sure. The public was pissed at how cold the royals seemed at first. Took them years to rebuild their image. William and Kate's fairy tale wedding helped, though. Everybody loves a good royal wedding, right? But let's not kid ourselves. Things haven't exactly been smooth sailing since then.
Oh, hell no. Prince Andrew and his whole Epstein situation. Talk about a royal fuck-up.
And then you've got Harry and Meghan dropping truth bombs on Oprah, accusing the family of racism and just, like, being a bunch of cold-hearted bastards.
Welcome to the 21st century, Your Majesty. Time to get woke.
Right. And the hypocrisy doesn't stop there. These guys fly around in private jets while preaching about climate change, living in these massive palaces that guzzle energy while telling the rest of us to cut back.
It's enough to make you want to storm the Bastille. Speaking of storming the Bastille, let's talk about who the hell is paying for this whole royal charade. Spoiler alert, it's us, the taxpayers.
That's right. Through something called the Sovereign Grant, we're funding their lavish lifestyles.
Oh, wait, hold up. Didn't you say they own the Crown Estate? That whole multi-billion-dollar real estate empire?
Yeah, they do. It's a pretty sweet deal, actually. They get a percentage of the Crown Estate's profits every year, on top of their private income from things like the Duchy of Cornwall.
So they're loaded as fuck, and we're still giving them handouts. What the fuck is up with that?
It's a complex system with a long, shady history. The royals argue that they bring in more money through tourism than they cost the taxpayers. Plus, they do a lot of charity work and, represent Britain on the world stage.
Yeah, heard all that before, but is it really worth it?
Yeah.
I mean, what do we get out of this whole deal? A bunch of stuffy ceremonies and endless waves of ridiculous scandals, I'm not convinced.
This is where it gets interesting. They need the media attention, even the bad stuff, to stay relevant. But they also want their privacy. It's a constant tug of war.
So they want to have their cake and eat it, too. Typical fucking royals.
It's like they're stuck in this weird limbo between the past and present, trying to hold on to tradition while also trying to seem modern and relatable. I don't know if they can pull it off.
Like watching a slow-motion train wreck. But with tiaras and corgis.
You said it.
All right, I think we've laid the groundwork, got this sprawling, dysfunctional family living a life of obscene privilege and constantly embroiled in some kind of drama. But before we dive into the really good stuff, the scandals and betrayals and the toe-sucking, let's take a closer look at that tangled web of a family tree. Because believe me, it's a lot more complicated than you think.
All right, let's try to untangle this goddamn family tree. It's more like a forest after a hurricane, mate.
Yeah, seriously. Trying to figure out who's who in this royal mess is like navigating a minefield of incest and just bad decisions.
Okay, so the roots of this whole twisted tree, they go back to King George V and Queen Mary. They're the grandparents of good old Chuck, the current monarch, King Charles III.
King Chuck, the drama king himself.
Right, so George and Mary had like a whole brood of kids. One of them was King George VI, Queen Elizabeth's dad, the one with the stutter from that movie, The King's Speech.
Oh yeah, the Colin Firth one?
Exactly. So George VI married Elizabeth Bowesline, the Queen Mum, and they have two daughters, Elizabeth, who ends up being the longest reigning monarch in British history.
Queen Liz, the OG badass.
And Princess Margaret. She was kind of the wild child of the family, known for her partying, her smoking, her string of scandalous affairs.
Now that's a royal I could have a beer with.
She definitely knew how to have a good time. So Elizabeth marries Prince Philip. He was a Greek prince, actually, who gave up his titles to become a British citizen. They have 4 kids, Charles, Anne, Andrew, and Edward.
The Fab Four, royal style.
More like the fucked up 4, let's be real. Charles, as we know, is king now. And the Princess Royal, she's the one who always looks like she's smelling something bad.
She's like the grumpy aunt who's seen some shit, you know?
Then you got Andrew, the Duke of York, the one who's been hiding under a rock since the whole Epstein thing.
Yeah, he's a walking PR disaster.
And then last but not least, there's Edward, the Duke of Edinburgh, the youngest. He's always kind of been in the background, trying to stay out of the limelight.
Probably a smart move, considering the shit show his siblings have created.
So that's the main group, the main players in this royal drama. But hold on to your hats, because we're just getting started.
Oh, I know. It wouldn't be the British royal family without a few more layers of fucked upness.
Each of those kids had their own kids, and so on and so on. Right. So now you got William and Harry, the sons of Charles and Diana, the people's princess.
God, Diana was an icon. Too bad she got caught up in this whole royal mess.
Yeah, her death was a tragedy. But anyway, William and Harry, they both have kids now, too. William's got George, Charlotte, and Louis. Harry's got Archie and Lilibet.
Jesus Christ, this family tree is starting to look like a goddamn rainforest. How do they even keep track?
Well, there's a strict line of succession that's laid out, in law. It's not like Game of Thrones where everyone's just killing each other off to get to the throne.
Although, let's be real, there's probably been some backstabbing and power plays going on behind the scenes.
Oh, I'm sure. But it's all hush-hush, Royals don't like to air their dirty laundry in public.
Except for Harry and Meghan, apparently. They seem to be doing a pretty good job of airing everyone's dirty laundry.
They're definitely shaking things up.
Yeah.
But back to the line of succession, it basically goes like this. The monarch's eldest son, he's first in line, then his eldest son, and so on.
So right now, little Prince George is next in line for the throne.
That's right. Followed by Princess Charlotte, then Prince Louis. So even if something happened to William, the monarchy's pretty much set for, the next few generations.
Well, that's reassuring, I guess. But with all these potential heirs running around, there's got to be some pressure to stay on the monarch's good side.
Oh, absolutely. Every move these royals make is, scrutinized. Every scandal, every fuck-up, every bad hair day could affect their place in line.
Talk about living under a microscope.
It's not all fun and games being a royal, that's for sure.
All right, so we got the family tree down, we got the line of succession, the whole mess of titles and protocols. But let's get to the heart of the matter. The reason we're all so obsessed with these royals.
Yeah.
The drama.
The drama. It's like a never-ending soap opera, full of betrayal, scandal, just general fucked upness.
And we wouldn't have it any other way.
Exactly. So, where do you want to start? Should we talk about Prince Andrew and his Epstein situation?
Oh, hell yes. Let's dish the dirt on Andy and his predilection for underage girls. Okay, so let's talk about the elephant in the room. Or should I say the giant pile of cash in the palace? Who the hell is paying for all this royal bullshit?
The short answer is we are. The British taxpayers. We're footing the bill for this whole royal circus through something called the Sovereign Grant.
The sovereign grant. Sounds like some kind of medieval tax they'd levy on the peasants.
It's not that far off, actually. It's a big chunk of change the government gives to the monarch every year. Covers their official duties, travel expenses, staff costs, you name it.
So we're paying for their palaces, their fancy clothes, their corgis' diamond-studded collars.
Maybe not the collars, but yeah, basically. And here's the real kicker. The Sovereign Grant, it's funded by the Crown Estate, right? Which is like a massive portfolio of land and property worth billions. Prime real estate in London, farms, forests, even the seabed around the UK.
Hold up, didn't we talk about this? They own all that shit, and we're still giving them a paycheck. What kind of fucked up system is that?
It's a head-scratcher, right? So the Crown Estate, it's not directly owned by the monarch. It's held in trust for the nation. But the monarch gets a percentage of the profits every year, which makes up a big chunk of that sovereign grant.
So it's like a giant slush fund they can just dip into.
Not exactly. The amount of the sovereign grant, it's based on how well the Crown Estate does, right? So if the estate's making bank, the royals get a bigger cut. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's all taxpayer money.
It makes you want to start a goddamn revolution. So what's the justification for this? What do we get, the people actually paying for all this?
The royals would say they bring in a lot of tourism revenue. People from all over the world come to the UK to see Buckingham Palace, Windsor Castle, all that pomp and circumstance.
Yeah, I guess those tacky souvenir shops don't stock themselves. But is that really worth billions of pounds?
They also do a lot of charity work. You know, patrons of a ton of organizations, they raise awareness for different causes.
They're good at shaking hands and smiling for the cameras.
Yeah.
But I mean, a lot of celebrities do that kind of stuff. And they don't cost the taxpayers a fortune.
It's a complex issue, right? Valid arguments on both sides. Some people think the monarchy is outdated, doesn't belong in the 21st century. Others see it as a vital part of British history and culture.
It's a tough one. I mean, you can't deny all that history and cultural stuff, but on the other hand, the cost, the privilege, especially when so many people are struggling.
Yeah.
Hard to swallow that.
Exactly. And with all the scandals and controversies these days, it's no wonder people are wondering if it's all worth it.
Well, folks, there you have it. The British royal family. A tangled web of history, tradition, privilege, and a whole lot of messed up shit.
We've dug into their bizarre family tree, the whole confusing title thing, their questionable finances, and that never-ending drama.
We talked about the scandals, the betrayals, the toe-sucking, the general fucked upness that just seems to follow these royals around.
It's a story about power, wealth, and just our enduring fascination with people who have it all.
So next time you see a picture of those perfectly polished royals, remember what we talked about today. There's a whole lot more going on beneath the surface.
And it ain't always pretty.
Until next time, cheers. And God save the queen or king or whatever the hell they're calling themselves these days.